I'm here with Alan Annand. He is a Vedic astrologer and a writer. Alan, pleasure to have you here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Thanks, Adele. Well, you know, my whole life has been straddling writing and astrology. In university, I did 2 degrees and then immediately began to work as a writer. Later, I ended up as an HR guy for CN Railway. But throughout, I kept writing fiction and published 5 novels in the conventional way, and now another 3 novels self-published. And throughout all this period of time, I've been a practicing astrologer as well.
And so you've recently written a novel called Scorpio Rising. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, Scorpio Rising is a murder mystery, and my hero is a criminal profiler named Axel Crow, who happens to be an expert in Vedic astrology, palmistry, numerology, and other esoteric arts. And he's called to New York by a wealthy client to investigate the mugging death of the client's sister. And so Axel, after a period of time, realizes there's more to this than meets the eye. It's not a simple mugging, it's an orchestrated murder, and there are other murders involved. One in San Francisco, another one in Los Alamos, New Mexico, which occurred within an hour of each other on the same day. So the mystery is to discover the connections and then to figure out who the perpetrators are and help the police run them to ground.
So what inspired you to write the book?
Well, years of sitting in a classroom with my brilliant teacher, Hart Defoe, watching a master of astrology and palmistry and other things do his work, I would often sit back and say, wow, what if this guy was a detective like Sherlock Holmes or Nero Wolfe? What might he be able to do? And so Scorpio Rising was inspired by that notion.
Okay, and why the genre of mystery?
Well, I like to read mysteries, I like to write mysteries. Astrology itself is an attempt to solve a mystery through, our special means.
Super. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your writing background?
In university, I was sort of an amateur journalist. I wrote art reviews and poetry and started writing short stories. As soon as I got out of university, rather than get a real job, I sat down and started writing novels, all of which were pretty bad. Eventually, I had to get a job, but I kept on writing anyway, and over the years have published several and continue to write several more.
And your career as an astrologer, could you describe that further?
I was a Western astrologer for 15 years. I'd studied with the British Faculty of Astrological Studies, got a diploma from them, was their correspondence tutor for many years, taught classes, gave consultations in Montreal, spoke at national conferences. Then I discovered Vedic astrology and it started all over again. I pursued formal studies with Hart Defoe for about a decade, got a diploma from the American College of Vedic Astrology, and for 15 years have been practicing as a Vedic astrologer.
Is Scorpio Rising, is this your first esoteric novel?
No, I've worked astrology, which is a big passion of mine, obviously, into other of my novels. There was a sci-fi novel called Antenna Syndrome, which was a murder mystery set in a very apocalyptic future New York, where an astrologer played a significant role in helping the hero track down a missing girl. Another novel years later called Harm's Way, which is more of a hard-boiled detective fiction, but the hero's girlfriend was an astrologer, and she provided a fair bit of input into, the lines of investigation suggested to her boyfriend.
For the book Scorpio Rising, does the reader need any knowledge of the esoteric arts?
Not at all. As Ray Merriman kindly said, anybody with even the most basic understanding of astrology or palmistry will enjoy this book. So I intentionally keep it pretty light because, most people don't speak this language that we speak. So I want it to be entertaining, but a little bit educational at the same time.
Was it challenging to write a fictional book with the esoteric arts?
Yeah, it's straddling that fine line between providing a bit of astrology, palmistry, and these other things, for which I believe there is an audience, and people who understand that, but at the same time not getting in too deep and alienating people who know nothing of it. So, like I say, walking a fine line.
And what's the typical profile of the person that would read your book?
Well, obviously a mystery lover. maybe if they have a little inclination for the noir or hard-boiled aspect, could help a little bit. It's a suspense thriller of sorts. Obviously astrologers and other masters of the divinatory arts, I shouldn't say masters, students of the divinatory arts, would enjoy it because they would learn things about these subjects.
And what can readers expect to gain from reading your book?
Well, certainly learn a bit about palmistry, which is the easiest thing to communicate in a vehicle like this, but also something about astrology, numerology, Ayurveda, Vastu, which is the Indian equivalent of Feng Shui. Essentially what I'm trying to do here is write New Age Noir. It's some of this subject matter woven into what is otherwise a compelling mystery plot.
And do you plan to write any more books with an esoteric theme?
Yeah, definitely. I have at least 2 sequels in this series involving Axel Crow, what I call the New Age Noir series. One's called Felonious Monk, the other one's called Soma County. I'll get to those in the next year or 2.
And where can people buy Scorpio Rising?
Well, if you have a Kindle, you can get it from Amazon, certainly, for $2.99, and Amazon also sells it in paperback for $11.99. For other formats like iPad and Nook, Sony Reader, you can get it at smashwords.com, again for $2.99 in a digital version.
Super. Thank you for your time, Alan. You can get a copy of the book at the link below at this video. Alan, want to thank you again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thanks, Adele.